Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about the very best comic books that you can buy, you can read this week. We've got a 30th anniversary celebration. We got the introduction of a long-time literary classic. We've got some comic books that I think are absolutely brilliant, that are going to be on the best of the year list, that are winding down. We got some Marvel stuff here. And here to cover it all with me is my good friend Drew from Comics Lead. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing all right. It's a chilly, snowy day here in Indianapolis right now. So let's talk about some great comics. Take my mind off the snow.
Absolutely. Let's warm it up. Let's get those nether regions tingling with Lord of the Jungle #1 Dynamite Comics, Dan Jurgens, Benito Gallego. This is absolutely fantastic. It is a very faithful adaptation of the original Edgar Rice Burroughs story of Tarzan. This is not your Disney crap. This is the real deal. Lots of bare ass. We got a kid fighting animals, learning how to be an ape in here. And the art is really shockingly the standout feature of it. I know this story. I've read a lot of the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff when it comes to Tarzan, but I've never seen it illustrated quite this well. Dynamite stuff on the behalf of the artist Benito Gallego. A new name to me, but somebody I'm definitely going to be looking out for.
First, Dan Jurgens. He's the writer of this. Dan Jurgens knocked the story out of the park, retelling pretty much the origin of Tarzan. And if you're only familiar with the Disney story, you're going to be in for a shock because it is a very, very dark story. But the artist in this, holy crap. His art is, to me, when I'm looking at his art, it was very eerily similar to Joe Kubert. The heavy inks, the lines, the cross hatchings. I'm like, this looks like Joe Kubert, and that is never a bad thing. And this guy is on my radar now, and I love where the story is going. It's beautifully told. Yeah, strong recommend for Lord of the Jungle #1.
If you've been waiting for a great series to jump on in the very beginning, go and do yourself a favor. Go get your Dynamite Comics issue, your copy of Dan Jurgens, Benito Gallego's Lord of the Jungle #1, a faithful adaptation. I'm not sure where they're going to take the story, if they're only going to tell the stories that have already been told, but this thing is absolutely perfect. You're going to love that one. We've got another indie comic book. We've been talking about Do a Powerbomb from the very beginning. We're at issue #6 here. We've got one left from Image Comics. Daniel Warren Johnson, perhaps in the greatest comic book he's ever written and illustrated in his life, and he's written and illustrated some great stuff, further developing the story, heading towards this big cataclysmic wrestling clash that's going to happen. And we learn more information about the daughter and the father and how they got here. And we've also got some other things going on in the background. Really hard-hitting stuff, especially when they do the wrestling action. There were no holds barred in this one. It was bloody. It was brutal. Just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, and I think I said the term before in an earlier issue of talking about Do a Powerbomb. This reminded me of ECW wrestling here, where it is balls to the wall, crazy outside of the ring. It is nuts. And what's great about this is that it's an incredibly heartfelt issue as well. And that's the one area of this why I can't begin to recommend this enough, because not only is it insane in the ring, but it's insane emotionally outside the ring. And we see the ties, the family bonds here and just how strong they are. It's really, really great stuff. And the cliffhanger in this, holy crap, didn't think it'd get much bigger, but it gets a little bigger. Very much looking forward to where it's going to next. Strong recommend for Do a Powerbomb.
He knows what he's doing. When it comes to those cliffhangers, he almost always delivers, has you champing at the bit for the next issue. Let's talk about another series that's been absolutely brilliant from another writer-illustrator, Starhenge, The Dragon and the Boar #5 from Image Comics. Liam Sharp is so undervalued just as an artist, but also as a writer. I've really liked some of the stuff that he's done in the past. Here, he's working on that Arthurian legend and moving into the future and past. And the way that time works in this universe is kind of fluid, and you can catch up to it and you can lag behind. And this is very abstract, really deep stuff going on here. If you're a fan of Arthurian history, if you're a fan of great comic book storytelling and beautiful imagery, this is going to be the comic book for you. This is going to be better collected, I believe, but definitely go out and support this series because it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, you are 100% correct in that. Liam Sharp's art, he is at God level right now with how he's illustrating. It is God level tier, and no one should knock him for his art because it is, like you said, it is beautiful. It is masterful. And this is one of those stories where I just want to look at his pages. I just want to try to follow the art. I want to see the IDW Artifact edition, that's like 24 feet, it's all the black and 24 inches. I'm sorry. It's all black and whites. I just want to stare at it, day and night because his art is just that detailed and beautiful. Yeah, it's right on the. This is, to me, story wise, like I said, it's a very abstract story. It was very difficult to follow. We're like, where is the story going? But I do like where it's at now with we actually get Arthur, Arthur Pendragon in this, and I'm hoping he can really stick to the landing with this with the next issue. I think is it one more issue?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, one more issue. I really hope he can stick to landing with it because this is a very beautiful comic book. Starhenge, number 5.
He should definitely get some award consideration for this one, just for the art itself, but the writing is very top-notch as well. Let's go over to the big two and discuss some of the things happening at Marvel and DC. And they both had some pretty decent weeks, although they did have some failings. But we're not going to talk about that here. Let's talk about Marvel first. Moon Knight, number 17, Jed MacKay, Alessandro Cappuccio returning to the series, which I think absolutely helps out the series. He's been the best artist by far. Jed MacKay has done a lot of work showing how Moon Knight is kind of controlling his demons. Sure, he's going out there and trying to do some good here and there. He finally loses control of what he's doing. He goes full fucking Moon Knight on these guys, and he just goes insane. I've really liked it because we finally got to see him really go out there and deliver some rightful vengeance on people.
I love that term you just said. He went full Moon Knight on these guys, and sure enough, yeah, he went full Moon Knight on these assassins. And there are so many great moments in this issue, so many well-illustrated pages. There's one page specifically I meant to message Alessandro because I want to know if he still has it. It's where Moon Knight is on the throne. He's sitting down, the light beaming down on him, and he's looking down at the assassins at his feet. That page, almost God level too. I want the original of that. It is beautiful. But yeah, Moon Knight goes full Moon Knight on these guys to the point where they're throwing up from what Moon Knight is doing to them in the house of the building that he uses for the mission. And I cannot wait for where it goes to in the next issue. Moon Knight is the best ongoing at Marvel right now, and Alessandro Cappuccio has only gotten better with his art. And you guys have to be reading this. If you're not, you got to do it now. Do it now.
Moon Knight's a great character, but I really appreciate this particular series. Maybe not the best one in Moon Knight history, but it might be the best illustrated one. This has been a really strong run, and it's definitely in like the top 5 of all times already, and it's not even over with yet. That's just my opinion. We've also got a classic creator returning to a classic story. Spider-Man, The Lost Hunt, number 1, J.M. DeMatteis, Eder Macias on this one, returning to the Kraven story, but we're changing a little bit, taking a little bit of liberties with the story to move it in a new direction. And we certainly get a visual that's very reminiscent of a very famous comic book cover featuring Spider-Man coming out of a grave. Obviously, this time it's Kraven, though.
Yeah, it's so many great visuals in this issue, and I love what J.M. DeMatteis did here in this story. So yeah, like you said, it takes place right after the Clone Saga. It's quote unquote in the 90s. Peter and MJ are in Oregon, starting a family. Peter's depowered. He feels like he's lost touch with things. He's losing his bond with Mary Jane. He doesn't feel special anymore. But you really do see MJ, while she's pregnant, she's doing what she can to keep their bond together. And there's great moments where they do argue. Peter and Mary Jane are arguing. Mary Jane says something sarcastic, but there's a dialogue bubble in her that says where Mary Jane says to herself, "I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have come across as sarcastic like that." That's perfect. That is a relationship. That shows you what a great writer J.M. DeMatteis is. Because other writers wouldn't have included that. And this story, this villain that we're building up here, it really reminds me of Nightfall from the 90s with DC, with this villain tearing apart Peter psychologically, because that's what's happening in this issue. Peter is being torn apart every way psychologically you can imagine. And I cannot wait to where it goes to next. This is terrific. You guys have to be reading this. This is, in my opinion, this is the Spider-Man book right now. You guys got to be reading this.
If you have lost faith in Marvel Comics and you're like, there's just nothing there for me, there have been a lot of these outstanding throwback issues that are kind of in continuity, but 30 years ago, mostly it's been Peter David doing the work of his life on Maestro, but we're also getting some J.M. DeMatteis stuff, X-Men Legends. We've got Gambit coming out, or actually it's already out. But these have been a breath of fresh air, and they give you an alternative if you don't like the current direction of Marvel Comics in their ongoing continuity. Now let's go over to DC Comics, because we do have a couple of things that people might like. Death of Superman 30th Anniversary, Dan Jurgens, Roger Stern, Louise Simonson, Jerry Ordway, Brett Breeding, Butch Goose, John Bogdanov, Tom Grummett. The entire group is back together for this one. Is this comic book absolutely necessary? I would say no. Is it done well? Absolutely, it's done well. There are some poignant moments and stories, but it certainly gives you a different perspective and some different ways to look at it. So it does add something. Don't know that it's absolutely necessary, but it is enjoyable. And if you enjoy the Death of Superman story, if you remember that moment and you thought that was mind-blowing, I think you will absolutely love this.
And well, Wes, I would say it is, and to me, it is necessary in the sense where if you look at everything else that DC is putting out, like let's say Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, you put this in retrospect where you see the sacrifice a hero makes, what he's willing to do, putting his life on the line, not stopping, which is what we see in the Butch Goose story, where you see he's meeting the Guardian at different points throughout the fight, and the Guardian's like, my God, why isn't Superman stopping? He needs to rest. He needs to get a break. Superman does not quit. He keeps going, and it inspires Guardian, which we see happen in a story later on in the Death and Return of Superman. But yeah, there's so many great moments in this book, and it really reminds you, if you're not familiar with it, if you've forgotten it by this point, why Clark Kent Superman is Superman, and why he is arguably the greatest living being in the DC universe. He will put his life on the line and will not stop.
Definitely check that one out. Like I said, there's some really great moments in there. You get a host of just classic creators coming back, and that was very appreciated. Now let's go over to somebody that's also returned to DC Comics recently. Batman vs. Robin #3, Mark Waid, Mahmoud Asrar. Batman does get dressed down quite a bit, not just by Damian Wayne Robin, but really by all the Robins. They've come back to haunt him. Maybe they're possessed. Maybe it's something like that. But they're asking him all the hard questions, all the times that Bruce Wayne has failed. His Robins as Batman gets thrown right into his face in this comic book. Certainly a monumental step up from the second issue, which I did not like.
Yeah, this was great. This was huge. This, like you said, big step back up. It's Bruce is, while he's fighting them, he's facing his past failures and mistakes, which is terrific. He's it's effectively his 40 days 40 nights in the desert, just facing his temptations, fears, everything. And if he's made the right decisions or not, it's great. And we got some stuff with the helmet of Naboo. Looks like some of the magical people are being captured in the helmet of Naboo. The plot is taking a bit of a twist with Neza, as he may have a loved one now in the picture we weren't aware of. And by the end of this, we had a big twist and revelation with Alfred. And let's just say, I think Batman is in a stronger place, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. This is a very powerful, very strong issue. I really recommend everyone do check this out. I know it's Mark Waid. He said a lot of things over the years, but please do check this out. This is quality writing here.
We already know what's next. We got the Lazarus volcano leading us into Lazarus Planet. They've already told us.
Yes, but getting to that planet. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Very interesting stuff. I do want to say thank you very much to Drew from Comics Elite for joining me, talking about the very best comic books of the week. There's a comic book that came out this week that probably could have made the list in Dark Crisis #6, but unfortunately, Josh Williamson just does not nail the landing in this. We get a great moment, possibly a hero-defining moment from John Kent stepping up and doing the right thing, but it's all undercut by terrible writing, just really lazy storycraft in this one. Definitely check this out and see the amazing moment that was ruined by bad writing. If you don't see it here, there's also a link in the video description.